And welcome back. Astro Self Care Sunday. Astro Self Care. I'm Kenya and I'm back 2 weeks in a row. Can you believe that? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's so good to feel like I am being as consistent as possible. For those of you that are new to my channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks so much for checking me out. My attempts are always to, on Sundays, release astro self care videos where I basically talk about something around astrology. I have a topic and I talk about how you can utilize the astrology for your wellness. Bring my camera just a little. This is pretty informal. I mean, I have lipstick on, but a little makeup. But so if you see me adjusting and doing, that's why. But if you like what you're hearing, even if you're just iffy on what you're hearing, come back, push subscribe so that you get alerted every time I'm in the space doing this good stuff. And make sure you hit the bell and say, get the alert, subscribe all. Or what's the one where like whatever I publish, you get alerted? Yeah, do that one. Do that one. Um, like this video, please share this video. Definitely going to be doing way more, kind of really getting more like this with what I do around astrology so that we can really spread the truth around astrology so that you can utilize it. I don't know. It's just a really big time to be able to dig into something, a tool, maybe that you're not as familiar with, but would like to learn more about. I mean, I think astrology is a really good one. There's lots of other, though, really, really good tools that really integrate our soul, our mind, our body. So whether that be human design, whether that be cardology, we're using cards, my space is astrology. And so today, the title of our video is Master Your Fire and Fuel Your Life. Master your fire and fuel your life. And we're going to be talking about that planet of Mars because we are in Aries season, and Aries is ruled by the planet of Mars. And so last week, if you watched the video from last week, make sure you go back if you haven't watched it. It's in my videos and it's also in the astrology Astro Self Care Sunday playlist, so you can watch it. And we're talking about who am I really, where we were talking about Aries and Neptune going into Aries. So I wanted to get more into, since it's Aries season, we're talking kind of everything Aries, and then when we get to Taurus, which is next, we'll talk everything Taurus. But um, today we're going to get into Mars because it rules Aries. And I find that once you start really I honestly think if you know the elements, once you understand what fire means, what you understand what water means, air means, earth means in astrology, it just becomes that much simpler to connect the dots and to be able to better understand how you're wired and how you show up in those parts that you're aware of and how you show up in those parts that you may not be as aware of. And that's what we're going to get in a bit more today. I call it the empowered and then the disempowered. The empowered, typically we kind of, yeah, I know that about myself. I know that. The disempowered is like, "Oh, am I like that? Oh, yeah, I am kind of like that." And then the thing is when you're living and you're doing, and when things aren't lining up or when you're frustrated or whatever, we tend to fall into the more disempowered. And sometimes we fall into it so quickly we don't even realize we're falling in it. And so Mars is that planet about our power. It is about our power. So this is what I want you to be thinking about. I'm about to get into is how am I using my power? And because Mars is associated with fire, but Mars also rules Scorpio. And so we're going to get into that too in a moment. But definitely it's a fiery planet. Fire can do many things. Fire is necessary, but fire can be destructive and destructive in a really painful, hard way. So we want to learn how to master and manage our fire, manage our Mars energy so that we can really master our life and fuel our life and use that fire to move our life. So that's what we're going to get into. I'm going to talk about kind of the fire signs, air signs, water signs, and earth signs, and how Mars can show up in its most elevated way. Okay, so that's the fueling, and that's what we're going to be using for our self care. How can we fuel that and charge our life forward, especially these days, versus how it can just destroy in that disempowered way, right? And I'll share kind of how it shows up in the different signs based on their elements. But before that, I want you see the little scroll. If what I am talking about resonates and you're like, ooh, that kind of sounds like I need to learn more. I'm in a bit of a rut right now. I'm lacking some direction. I'm feeling indifferent or I'm feeling stuck. Definitely, if this is resonating, then if you either go to the description, I have a link of how to book a free discovery call with me, or you can just straight out book a reading. If you already know, no, I don't need no discovery. I know exactly. I've been looking at these videos. I've been watching you, Kenya, and I've been watching everybody else. It's time. Yes, then just go ahead and book the reading. Now, I will say this. This is my announcements because my company, Finding Your Voice, which you should see the logo, that logo up there. I am really moving toward Finding Your Voice has already been mind, body, soul, but really I've always wanted it to be more the foundation of it all to be kind of around astrology, meaning we use astrology as a foundational tool to understand how to do your transformation and so forth. So we're really moving more into that, which means there's some changes. Currently, my readings right now are 111. I'm just going to be blunt. That's how much they are. And that's very low in the world of astrology. And that's only going to last for the rest of April. Starting in May, my Mother's Day gift is that the prices will be going up. Okay. The prices right now are 111. They are a 60-minute reading, guidance reading, and basically they run more around 50 minutes and then 10 minutes of kind of Q&A and just kind of trying to understand things if you have questions. But that's going to shift. The readings will continue to be in that whole kind of 60-minute time frame, but the price will go up to $222. You will be getting some additional things though. I don't typically provide recordings of the readings. With the new price, there'll be a recording. You'll also get what's called an astro blueprint. So 24 hours after your reading, you will get basically a pretty Canva PDF that is personalized to you, and it basically will state your top three, and then I will give you an elemental breakdown, meaning based on your self-care, based on how your chart is, based how you're wired, you are mostly fire or you are mostly water or whatever that is that you are, whatever modality or mode that you are, and provide self-care based on that. So you'll get the recording and you'll get the astro blueprint, as well as you will get what was the other thing? Oh yeah, this is easy. You'll get a copy of your birth chart. So that's the things we're adding to it. The other thing is this: if you book a free discovery call, okay, just to get you to come in the door, and you want to learn more, and we can learn a little bit more with each other before we actually do the full reading. If I'm doing a special right now where if you book that free discovery call, no obligations, no pressures, you will get some astro cheat sheets. So astro cheat sheets are basically like quick references for you to be able to look at in order to better understand yourself. So come, but you can't just book it. You got to come, you got to finish. And I have a variety of the book, the sheets. And so if you actually book the reading, you'll get the full, all the cheat sheets. But if something is different, then we'll still give you a goodie because you came to learn. So make sure we're doing, and that's definitely temporary. That's those cheat sheets. But we want people to, again, we're growing, we're doing more. There's so much more we're doing. I'm also super, super excited to announce that you don't even have to book anything for this, but I have a new Astro Atlas. What's an Astro Atlas? Well, what's an atlas? A map. We're mapping your journey. Okay, so this is a workbook. This is a free astrology workbook. And I think it's quite interactive. Because the end of the workbook, you actually do a whole series of reflections to see how well you're tying everything together. So it is awesome. I'm so excited to be able to release this. I am giving it completely free to anybody who will listen to me. Again, because we are really building. So there's a lot going on. Okay. Now, listen, I'm doing all this right now. But again, my readings, the price are changing on my readings. We are going to have some more things to get you all prepped, and there's going to really be some really magical things I can't talk completely about yet. But what I can talk about is book that free discovery call, and you will get some astrology cheat sheet. If you go ahead and book a reading, you'll get the full deck of the astrology cheat sheets, as well as the astro blueprint, the reading, the recording, all the good stuff, right? And if you don't want to do any of that and you just want to kind of sit on your own and watch my videos and do the workbook, go into either go in this link that's scrolling by or go in the description, and it will say, get your free workbook, and you can download that. Okay. All right. Let's get to the topic. So, Mars. Master, now I got notes, y'all. Y'all know I keep notes, right? Master your fire, fuel your life. And my big, big notes are when we go through all the elements. But before we go through that, let's just be reminded Mars is a planet that is fiery. It rules Aries. It also rules Scorpio. Scorpio is actually more intense than Aries. Scorpio is also ruled by, it's a co-ruler, so it's also ruled by Pluto. But Mars is also responsible for that first house, the I am, which is why we talked last week about who are you? Who am I? The I am. Okay. So Mars is really looking at our power. It's wanting us to be courageous. It's wanting us to be confident. It wants us to embody the truth of ourselves with passion. All the things we think of when we think about fire, right? Igniting and direct and going, and the fight that we have right inside. And so that is, you're probably like, wow, that just sounds like Aries. Yeah, that's the thing. When you start learning it, you see how you build upon each other. So depending on what sign your Mars is in, is how you may show up then when it comes to power, courage, confidence, all the things. Okay. So, depending on what element, what sign, what house it's in, and how the other planets are positioned and talking to your Mars. And I think it's really important to understand your Mars energy, because again, with this whole fire, this belly of fire we want to have inside of us, there's nothing worse than to have this stagnant energy, right? Because it turns into frustration. And I find that lately I have found, especially with everything going on, um, if we are suppressing our power, and we're not utilizing, and we're not really understanding just how powerful we are, and we're not understanding the fire, and we're not navigating and mastering how to use it, it can be incredibly dangerous energy. So when we talk about anger management, or we talk about, bullying or just stubbornness, or that's typically because there's something going on with how we are managing and mastering or not managing anger, and passion, and all those things. So I think finding your Mars is super important. I find that when I have clients who come to me who are having a difficult time feeling confident, or feeling very disempowered at work, or feeling like they're in a relationship and they always feel like people are just walking over them in the relationship, or they seem to be passive, or they find themselves being passive aggressive, like they don't want to just say what it is. They think they'll kind of say it another way to maybe convince the person because they're afraid to be all the things, right? I always like, let's go find the Mars. Where's Mars? Where's Aries? What's going on in the first house? You see how I did that? Where's Mars? Where's Aries? What's going on in the first house? And then, yes, I'm going to look at, okay, where's Scorpio? Where's your Scorpio at? A little bit of what's happening in the eighth house, but I definitely, that first house in Aries and where exactly Mars is sitting is the first places I'm going to go to. And then I'm going to look at, okay, well, how are the other planets talking to this? If they're in a square, then I can see how this person is probably having some frustration because there's a lot of tension going on. It's not in a really favorable position where it can go. If Mars is in water, if you have a water Mars sign, or excuse me, air Mars sign, doesn't do so well in those elements. And so the fire doesn't get to go as much. And so this is how you can start really learning more about yourself, okay? Or confirming, and then learning, how do I, okay, yes, I am maybe in my disempowered. So let's learn the empowered side of it so we can use the other parts of ourselves, or so that we can bring our awareness toward our goals of where we need to go in order to fuel our life, okay? Depending on our sign. So that's where I'm going to now go. I'm gonna get my notes together, and let's talk about it. How Mars can show up in these different signs. So remember, we have fire, we have earth, we have water, and then we have air. Okay. So obviously, because Mars is fiery, right? Because Mars, rules Aries, it's gonna probably be its strongest and most noticeable in fire signs. Okay, so in fire signs, our fire signs again are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Again, if you are new to my channel, you're like, what's Leo? What are the characteristics? I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember. What Sagittarius do? I have a video on every single sign. That's why when I started talking about astrology on my channel, I started with the signs so that you could have a really in-depth understanding. So you can always go into the playlist, you can watch. But your fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And so in the empowered state, when we are fueling our life, if you have your Mars, so this is the thing, you got to get your birth chart. Remember, to go to get your birth chart, you can just go to Google. You can probably, yeah, go to Google. I was gonna say ChatGPT can probably draw it all up, but I would go to Google and just put birth chart calculator, or go to astro.com. Or I personally really like Chani Nicholas. It's chart.chaninicholas.com. She also has an app. She's all over social media. Yes, I am endorsing you, Chani. I think she has a really clean chart. So once you put your birth date, your year of birth, your time of birth, you need your time. You need your time, and to know what house it's in. If you don't have your time of birth, you can still see what your Mars sign is. So that's okay. So if you're like, I don't know my time of birth, it's all right. You can still find what your Mars sign, because Mars takes like 6 weeks for it to move. Okay. I almost have to do a part 2 of Mars, because Mars has been doing some crazy stuff right now, because it was in a retrograde for a really long time, and it's been in Cancer, and that's water, and whew, yeah, that's a lot. But anyway, and I'll talk about how it shows up in water. You'll be able to kind of see why I rolled my eyes with that. But anyway, You want to find what sign is your Mars in. And if you have your time of birth, so you can see the house, you can figure out what house, because that means what part of your life that you exercise and that we see most of your Mars energy. Okay. So for the fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sag, and it's empowered stage when we are doing those things where we're in alignment, taking good care of ourselves and fueling our life. That is where we are courageous, we are direct. Direct is not a bad thing. Okay, it's not a bad thing at all. It's how are we direct? Are we doing it with enthusiasm? Okay, so it's enthusiastic, it takes initiative, passionate, inspiring, adventurous, and it's standing up for its beliefs. So if you have Mars in Leo, Sag, or Aries, that is the capability. That's how you can fuel your life. And it's disempowered. Okay. When we ain't managing it, when we are not allowing ourselves to do those things that would allow us to be enthusiastic, to follow our passions, to put ourselves in positions where we're actually standing up for our beliefs, then it turns into this aggressive and impulsive and even reckless kind of energy. It can be a very selfish energy, arrogant, even attention seeking type for the wrong reasons, preachy, scattered, okay? So lots of things, right? And this is what I'll do. I know that I'm kind of, this is a video and I hope you're taking notes. So you might be like, wow, again, if you book a free discovery call, I will give you a whole blurb on this on a PDF so that you can just, because I think this is so important right now because we have so much going on. And because so much is happening, because Mars is in this interesting position, the way our Mars baby showing up in our workplace and in our relationships, this is super important. How are we fueling our life? How are we mastering the fire? How are we managing the fire? Those of you who are Aries, um, period, you really want to know this. You really want to take notes. So again, if you are like, I watched it, but book a free discovery call and make sure I get you a PDF of this because this is important stuff. All right, so earth signs. Earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. Okay. And let's think about if you have your Mars in Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn, then in its empowered state, the way that it's fueling your life, the way that you want to be taking care of yourself so that you're moving in this direction is you will be persistent. There will be some groundedness about you, that practicality. So, not being real impulsive and just all over the place, but being practical about what's going on. Okay. Got to be careful though, because you don't want to be too practical to the point where you ain't getting nothing that you really want. Um, Hardworking, disciplined, strategic, achieving kind of these tangible results, and very patient. So Mars, I think Mars and Earth signs, that's a really it's nice because you're that courageous spirit with patience. Okay. The thing though, you've got to be careful when you have Mars in an Earth sign. So my Virgo, Taurus, or Capricorn Mars people. If you're Mars now, again, those of you who are new to astrology, I'm not talking about your sun sign. So if you're like, oh, I'm a Capricorn, is that how I am? Well, you are probably a lot of like that because Capricorns naturally are like that. But you have every sign in you and every planet is within was there when you were born, and so you want to find out what position, what zodiac sign the planet was in. So that's why I keep kind of referencing back, what's your Mars sign? Your sun sign is that sign that we're most familiar with when we say, oh, what's your sign? That's your sun sign, but we're looking at your Mars. Okay, so in the disempowered, stubborn, resistant to change, overly cautious, too cautious, critical, controlling, workaholic, and can suppress the anger a lot. So if you're like, ooh, that's me, you're going to have it. Listen, we all are going to have the disempowered side. What I find is if you are not in alignment with your truth, because I'm not going to go in as an astrologer or as someone guiding you and tell you who you are. You know who you are. You might not remember who you are. You may have some shame, some guilt, some insecurity around who you are. if you're feeling stuck, but you know who you are. So, my goal, what I do is help people really love who they are, accept who they are. And I think astrology does a really nice job helping us. And so if you find that you are like, gosh, I know I tend to be so stubborn when it comes to, this part of my life or what have you, it's like, it's okay. That just means there's a disempowerment. And when there's disempowerment, that means somewhere we are not managing things in full alignment. And that's okay. That's healing. That's progress. That's life. That's the journey. Okay. That's the point. So it's okay. So it's about, at least by knowing this, we are like, oh, okay, if I can be kind of in this stubborn way, maybe I need to shift things where I'm not so stubborn, but I move more into my groundedness. Okay. And I move more into my strategic, might be more strategic about things. And once my strategy is with flow, now I don't have to be so resistant to the change. Okay. All right. Water signs. Those of you who have your Mars and Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, now Scorpio, okay, because again, so Scorpio is this different. While it's water, it's fixed water, so it operates a little bit different than kind of the Cancer and Pisces water. And so Mars actually is the co-ruler of it. And so if your Mars is in Scorpio, it actually does well in it. And remember, Scorpio is the most intense of all the signs. And so Mars is like, yeah, let's go. We got some intensity. Let's go. So in the water signs, and it's empowered, it's protective. And remember, water is more about our emotions. Earth, I should have said this, Earth was more about how we build, how we um, ground ourselves, how we stabilize, how we kind of really harness a certain level of stability. And then fire is about how we get active. And then air is about how we exchange ideas. Okay. So I'll get more to air in a minute. But again, with water in the empowered state, and we think about those emotions and how can I be empowered then with my power in my emotions? Protective, intuitive, using what we feel and know. I'm going to be doing a lot more around intuition for sure. Emotional intelligence. That's such a buzzy word now. Everybody's like, well, they're not very emotionally intelligent. Oh, and we're hearing a lot about emotional intelligence. Well, where's your Mars at? If it's in an empowered space of water, then you may flow more with a sense of emotional intelligence. Okay. So that I thought that was, yeah, yeah. So I'm passionate, deeply passionate, because again, water is emotion. So it's not just passionate. It's not like, so fire is passionate and it means like passionate go. Water passionate is deeply feel. Okay. Deeply feel. Very transformative type of energy when we can change and be expansive, and our ability to do that when our Mars is in a water sign. Empathetic, artistic. Find that those who have Mars in their water signs, they are creatives. Kendrick Lamar, Mars in Cancer. Just saying. I try to use celebrities that you like, yeah, yeah, right, yeah. And then stands up for the vulnerable. Oh, there's my little alarm there. Okay, stands up for the. I listen. I could have said all of that to just say Kendrick Lamar, right? Pretty much. I should have just put in the title Kendrick Lamar, and then everybody will watch it. I might. I don't know. If you see Kendrick Lamar in this title later, it's bad. That's clickbait, right? Oh boy. Anyway, but yes, that's where that's coming from. So disempowered is that passive aggressive. And Mars in water has to be super careful of this, because I think this is one of the first things that do show up when there's a disempowerment with Mars, or there's a disempowered Aries or a disempowered Scorpio, passive aggressive, moody, manipulative, obsessive, vengeful, escapist, and can lack kind of directions and can easily get kind of overwhelmed. You heard me say if you are Aries or a Scorpio. And why I say that is because Mars rules those two planets. even if those are your sun planets, and let's say you don't have Aries there, but you have your sun in Aries or your sun in Scorpio, that also relates to this. Okay. You too in your disempowered space, even if your Mars is somewhere else, may have this. Okay, may have more of those disempowered things. And then last but not least is our air signs. And our air signs. Again, Mars don't like being in the air. It's like you're not helping me to really kind of have the fire that I want to have. Okay. So but when Mars is like Mars in Libra, I guess is the better, that's a harder one because Libra wants this fair kind of thing. It wants this fair energy. It wants balance. And Mars is like, whatever, come on, we got to go. We need to be courageous. We need to go. Well, I don't know. What? Okay. So Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Oh, and the water signs were Scorpio, Cancer, and Pisces. I think I said that. Yeah. The air signs are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. So if your Mars is in one of those three, the empowered side is those kind of empowered energies of what we know about those signs. But because Mars is looking at our power, then mentally assertive, communicative, curious, fair minded, innovative, progressive, champions of ideas and justice. And this is, again, that's very much anyway of what those signs are. And so when Mars is in those, it can really show up so beautifully if you are in that empowered space and you're taking good care of yourself. But in the disempowered, it goes back again to that scattered energy and just argumentative just for the sake of it all. Okay. And then there can be some indecision. There can be kind of rebellious without a cause. And can really intellectualize anger. And I think that's another really important thing to be thinking about is instead of just being angry, has to kind of go through all the corners to intellectualize it as such. So that mastering that disempowered is what I want to encourage you. And as far as, well, how do I master when that happens? Well, I always tell people we have to start getting curious about what are the triggers? What are the situations that happen when that really shows up? Also, though, just in general, and this is why I like to do the readings, we need to kind of look at the quilt of your life, how this quilt has been built so far, has been sewn together so far, how family has played a role in life, how friendships have played a role in life, how all of those things have come together to inform your power or your lack of. And what I do when I'm working, with a client is really help them um, pluck out all those areas and not have the shame around it or suppression, but to really connect the dots so that you can see one, get validated in it and be, well understood and acknowledge it so that the awareness is not just I'm aware, but I'm acknowledging it and I'm not having shame about it. I'm just having understanding around it. And then we have to start looking at, okay, well, where is the soul? What's it trying to learn? And that's in the readings, I'm able to really look at kind of the soul journey and why it came here and what it came to experience. And when you start seeing what the soul's kind of journey is, that North Node, and I've talked about North Node in my previous videos, you can go back and watch those. When we know the purpose, it better colors why these different scenarios are happening to build your resilience, to build your capabilities, to build your fortitude, to go toward this. You're needing these experiences so you can learn, have the contrast and the rub so that you have the opportunity to grow. Okay. But in more simple things, simply just looking at, okay, where's my Mars? Okay, in that empowered, I'm needing to get more here. So what's going on in my life that maybe be blocking that? And if you're needing assistance with that, obviously there's therapists, there's coaches, there's lots of ways you can get assistance. But what I think is unique about what I do is at least give you more. I mean, I have so many people who come in and just in those 60 minutes just have so many big breakthroughs and are able to be like, wow, that's it. I knew it I could feel it, but I didn't know how to say it. That's it. And there's a lot of relief just once that happens, because then it's almost like a permission slip. Because it's like, okay, I'm not crazy. I know I've been feeling like this. Oh, this is why this relationship always seems to just And I can, by looking at the chart, say, okay, yeah, it's doing that because it's trying to push you to be more in this space. So again, I would love to meet you. At a minimum, do that free discovery call, because by doing that, you'll already get a freebie just by showing up. You do have to show up. If you don't show up for it, then you don't get the freebie, but you show up. And then obviously, if you book an actual reading, I will give you more than the reading, give you other things to support you. And if this isn't the time right now for you to be able to do the reading, then I encourage you to get the workbook, keep watching these videos, subscribe so that you can just kind of sit with it. And then when you're feeling ready to go a little bit deeper or to get a little bit more information, then you'll have some already baseline. I find it's always when I just had a client who already kind of had a little bit of understanding of astrology, by no means trying to be an astrologer, but just had a basic understanding, could understand a bit. And that session just really was like, whoa, because she already had kind of a basic understanding. And so connecting those dots was that much easier. So I'm not saying, you can come to me and be like, I've never even heard of Mars. Okay. I didn't know that was a planet. And we still could do the reading and it still would be valuable and it still would be strong, because I've had those clients as well. I find and that those who do have some type of basic understanding, it just pushes you that much further in your self awareness and growth. So the workbook alone, just reading, just watching these videos is going to just help bring to the table a little bit more. So make sure you are getting that free workbook. Again, that's down in if you go to this link that's scrolling, you can also find it there. It's called the Astro Atlas. It's my new free workbook. I'm doing a lot more stuff around astrology because finding your voice is definitely using that tool more for the work that I do in terms of coaching. So yeah. And so next week we'll be talking about the first house, because that also is about Aries. And then soon we're going to be moving over to Taurus season. And we'll have to get into Taurus and the second house and Venus. Those are all the things that are associated with Taurus and the transits that are going on there. So I'm looking forward to this, and I'm working hard to be consistent. So I hope you have an amazing Sunday. Make sure you subscribe. If you liked what you heard today, this resonated for you, share this video with somebody that you think would really benefit, or just share a clip, put it on social media, tag me at Kenya MJ Music. That's what I am in every space. And yeah, I hope that this is beneficial for you. And again, if you do book that free discovery call, you say, I saw you, girl, on YouTube, and you said you would give us a free PDF of that disempowered and empowered based on the elements of the signs. Yes, I will make sure I get that to you. All right. All right. You guys have an amazing Sunday. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.